Could you imagine being attacked during a peaceful protest? Well, this is a reality that pro-Palestinian protesters faced at UCLA. Picture this: a serene evening at the University of California in Los Angeles, better known as UCLA. A peaceful demonstration is underway as pro-Palestinian protesters rally against Israel's war on Gaza. But as the night falls, the tranquility is shattered by an unexpected and violent turn of events. Suddenly, a mob storms the scene. But these aren't your average troublemakers. They are vigilantes, staunch supporters of Israel, who have taken it upon themselves to disrupt the peaceful demonstration. Armed with an arsenal of pepper spray and fireworks, they launch an aggressive attack on the unsuspecting pro-Palestinian protesters. The encampment that had been a symbol of solidarity and peaceful protest is now under siege. The attackers, draped in Israeli flags, attempt to dismantle the pro-Palestinian camp. With a ruthless disregard for the peaceful nature of the protest, they assault the students with pepper spray, sticks, stones, and even metal fencing. But what's even more shocking is the response, or rather the lack thereof, from the authorities. The Los Angeles Police Department, tasked with maintaining law and order, stood by as the chaos unfolded. They watched as students were forced to shield themselves with the very metal fencing that was hurled at them. They watched as the peaceful demonstration turned into a scene of violence and terror. Witnesses reported that the LAPD only intervened after nearly 4 hours of the attacks. 4 hours of unchecked violence, 4 hours of fear and uncertainty for the pro-Palestinian demonstrators. This was not just an unexpected incident, but a distressing display of the lengths some will go to silence peaceful protest. As the night wore on, the violence escalated. The peaceful demonstration at the University of California in Los Angeles was thrown into turmoil. A pro-Israel mob, masked and armed, intensified their assault on the pro-Palestinian encampment. The weapons of their choice? Sticks, stones, pepper spray, and fireworks. The air filled with the acrid sting of the pepper spray and the deafening blasts from the fireworks, turning the once peaceful night into a battlefield. The mob, their identities concealed behind masks, brandished Israeli flags as they attempted to dismantle the pro-Palestinian camp. The peaceful protesters, predominantly students of UCLA, found themselves on the receiving end of an onslaught. Pepper spray burned their eyes while sticks and stones became weapons of brutality. And yet, amidst this escalating violence, the Los Angeles Police Department stood by. For nearly 4 hours, their intervention was conspicuously absent. Their presence, yet lack of action, created a stark contrast against the chaotic scene unfolding before them. The students, bereft of any formal protection, found themselves relying on their own resilience and resourcefulness, repurposing the metal fencing that had been hurled at them as makeshift shields. As the hours passed, the violence took a more sinister turn. Reports emerged of a group from the mob descending upon a lone individual on the ground. Like a pack of wolves, they kicked and beat the defenseless person, their actions devoid of any semblance of humanity. It was only when others bravely intervened, risking their own safety, that the individual was pulled out from the scrum. In the midst of the chaos, a group reportedly piled on one person who lay on the ground, kicking and beating them until others pulled them out of the scrum. This incident serves as a chilling reminder of the extent of the mob's brutality that night, and the shocking delay in law enforcement's response. Eventually help arrived, but was it too late? This question reverberates in the minds of many as we revisit the shocking events at UCLA. Nearly 4 hours had passed before the Los Angeles Police Department intervened, a delay which led to a dramatic escalation of violence. What was supposed to be a peaceful demonstration against Israel's war on Gaza morphed into a nightmare scenario. Students, caught in the violent onslaught by a masked pro-Israel mob, found themselves under attack with pepper spray, sticks, stones, and even fireworks. The response from the LAPD? A deafening silence for those crucial first 4 hours. The silence wasn't just felt on the ground. Across the city, radios, televisions, and social media feeds echoed the same question: where is the police? The slow response from law enforcement became a major point of criticism. The delay allowed the situation to spiral out of control, leaving many to wonder if a quicker intervention might have prevented the escalation of violence. Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass eventually broke the silence with a statement issued in the early hours of Wednesday morning. She assured the public that the police were responding to the situation, stating that they were acting on requests for support from the UCLA administration. Yet for many, this response was a case of too little, too late. The impact of the delayed police response was significant. The attackers, seemingly emboldened by the lack of law enforcement, attempted to tear down the pro-Palestinian camp, assaulting students in the process. The students, left to fend for themselves, had to reappropriate the metal fencing thrown at them to shield themselves. As the dust settled and the extent of the violence became clear, the criticism of the LAPD grew. Their late intervention was seen by many as a failure to protect the students and maintain order. It raised questions about their readiness to respond to such incidents and their commitment to ensuring the safety of peaceful protesters. Senior UCLA official Mary Osako told the campus newspaper The Daily Bruin, "Horrific acts of violence occurred at the encampment tonight, and we immediately called law enforcement for mutual aid support. In the end, the question remains, could a quicker response have changed the course of that fateful night? But who were these attackers that brought such chaos and violence?" The question echoes in the aftermath of the shocking assault on UCLA's pro-Palestinian demonstration. Reports suggest that the attackers were not students. Instead, they seemed to be an organized mob that came from outside the campus. Masked and armed with pepper spray, fireworks, sticks, stones, and metal fencing, they arrived in their hundreds under the cover of night, their intent clear as they stormed the peaceful encampment. Their actions were not random acts of hostility. Rather, they were orchestrated attempts to harass and attack the pro-Palestinian demonstrators. Carrying Israeli flags, they launched a violent onslaught against the students, hurling fireworks into the encampment and assaulting them with various weapons. They even tried to tear down the camp, an act symbolic of their intention to dismantle the pro-Palestinian protest. But who were they? Where did they come from? And why did they resort to such shocking violence? The answers to these questions remain elusive. What we do know is that their actions reflect a disturbing trend of escalating tensions and increasing violence surrounding the Israel-Gaza conflict. This incident at UCLA is not an isolated event, but part of a nationwide escalation of demonstrations against Israel's actions, with similar clashes occurring at other universities across the United States. Despite the violence, the protesters stood their ground. As they reeled under the attack, their only means of protection was each other. They commandeered the metal fencing thrown at them to shield themselves, a testament to their resilience and solidarity. As the anti-war group stated, "The only means of protection we had was each other." This statement speaks volumes about their courage and determination in the face of such a terrifying ordeal. Despite the violence, the protesters stood their ground. Their only means of protection was each other. This is not an isolated incident. It's part of a bigger picture. Indeed, the deplorable incident at the University of California in Los Angeles is a mere fragment of a nationwide escalation of demonstrations against Israel's actions. It's an alarming pattern that has been spreading like wildfire across the country, reaching all corners from the East Coast to the West Coast. From the halls of academia to the streets, people are standing up, raising their voices, and expressing their solidarity with the people of Palestine. Yet these peaceful demonstrations are often met with aggression, as seen at UCLA. It seems that the right to protest, a fundamental pillar of democracy, is under threat. Reports are pouring in from other universities across the United States. Similar clashes have been occurring, mirroring the shocking events at UCLA. Students, our future leaders, educators, and influencers are being attacked for their beliefs, for standing up against injustice, for exercising their right to freedom of speech. The violence has not been limited to UCLA. The ripples of this conflict have reached other universities, where pro-Palestinian supporters have faced similar aggressions. This nationwide surge in violence against peaceful protesters paints a grim picture of the state of our society, where dialogue and understanding are replaced with violence and intimidation. It is crucial to understand that this is not just about one incident, one university, or one group of protesters. This is about the very fabric of our society, our values, our commitment to justice, and the right to express our beliefs without fear of retaliation. The question remains, will there be justice for the victims of the UCLA clash? And how can we prevent such incidents from happening in the future? The answer lies in our hands. We must stand up against violence,